Hello, welcome to the Wasting Time podcast. I'm Chris. I'm here with Nick as always. How's it going?
As always, well, maybe not always, more
That's
recently.
very true. Yeah,
Mo-
yeah.
More often these days, let's say.
Yes.
But yes, no, it's going good, buddy. It's going good. What have we got to cover today?
I think since we were last doing an intro, we've both went to see the Men Singers. Let's touch upon that quickly.
Yeah, thoughts? You went the first one in London, didn't you?
I did. No,
Electric
second
Ballroom?
one. Yeah, second night at the Electric Ballroom. So I went to the Saturday night. Yeah, it was good. It was fun. There was a big crowd of us that went. It was my wife's first time seeing them as well. So it's always kind of fun when you go with someone who hasn't seen them before. Because I have seen them many, many times. You know what you're getting with them, don't you? And they played very solid sets.
Yeah.
I can't. There weren't really any songs that I didn't hear that I wanted to hear. So that was good. And yeah, it was a really fun night. I was impressed. How was the Newcastle show?
Yeah, it was great. Smaller venue as well. And the last time I saw them was in London. I think with you. Maybe not. Don't know if I've seen them with you before down in London. But I remember seeing them in London and being like right at the back. Of a
All
much
right.
bigger, right at the back of a much bigger venue,
Yeah.
and in Newcastle it was much smaller, so it felt like better. Um, but yeah, solid set, like pretty faultless. Tom, he's a fucking bouncy little fucker, and he
He
never
is.
stops.
Yeah.
He's got springs in his shoes, never stopped
Yeah.
jumping around.
Got a lot of
Um,
energy. Yeah.
yeah, I did actually really enjoy the support band. Um, Prince Daddy and the Hyena, I think they were called. Terrible,
Yeah.
terrible name for a band. But yeah, I thought they'd really kind of like good, varied set, and I thought the singer was brilliant.
Did you watch the whole set?
Pretty much. I think we missed like the first song or two.
Okay.
Um, but the guy I was at the gig with said they're usually like a six piece. There's only four of them, and the lead singer doesn't usually play guitar. So there were a four piece in Newcastle.
Hmm.
Singer was lead guitar player. But apparently they're a much bigger band. We were just chatting around how, like, for a band like that, they're probably not getting a lot of money to come and do a support slot on the tour like that. Six people, like, over from America, like,
And yeah,
cost,
and their crew
like,
as well.
but it opened up an interesting conversation in the sense that, like, if you had those constraints as a band, how do you decide who goes on tour and who doesn't go on tour?
Yeah. Yeah.
Like,
That's tricky.
do you know what I mean? If you're managing a budget, and you know you can do the show as a smaller unit, imagine being the one that misses out
Yeah.
on probably what is a big tour for them, right? Men Singers, big shows, sold,
Yeah.
good few of them sold out.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. I mean, and they've had a lot on and I haven't been, I have to disclose, I haven't been following it very closely, but I just remember because Greg and me spoke to them for the podcast at 2000 Trees, and they were kind of telling us about the year they had ahead. And I'm sure they were going, I can't remember who they were going with, but they were going to tour like Malaysia and places like that.
right, cool.
As well as obviously coming back over here with the Men Singers. So they had loads ahead. So
Yeah,
they do keep busy. So if some of them don't go on those shows, yeah, that must be awkward to decide.
yeah. I think for me, the one thing that stood out with them was that just like there was felt like they were still trying to kind of find their identity. Like their set was very varied, which I
Yeah.
don't think necessarily is a bad thing, but um, I really need to kind of get into like actually some of their records and releases.
Yeah, that was going to be my next question. If you
No, but I will, and we can wing back round on that and see if they show us as a fair reflection of their actual releases.
well, I listened to a fair bit ahead of 2000 Trees, and I just couldn't get into it myself. But
Right,
yeah, if you listen to anything you like by them, send it my way, and I'm very happy to give it another go for sure.
right, okay. Watch this space then.
Yeah.
Talking of new releases, we released a new feature on our TikTok channel this last week.
Yes, yeah. Your little idea, which has been fun to do. Yeah.
Yeah, pop punk top trumps. So Chris and I have been pitching artists, songs, albums against each other on TikTok and putting them out for a vote. See kind of which song or which artist or which album people would take in a battle in pop punk top trumps. So
Yes.
if you like the sound of that, go and follow us on TikTok because we're going to do loads more of them.
Yeah, if you just search for Wasting Time podcast on TikTok, you'll find us. And also, I did mean to talk to you about this, so I'm glad you mentioned it. But because you've called it pop punk top trumps, but then I did the Frank Turner one the other day, and I was just like, well, Frank Turner's not really pop punk, is he? So I just called it Wasting Time top trunks. So
It's
you
not got the same ring to it though.
I see.
I think we just need to leave it. I don't know.
We just stick with pop punk, the title pop punk top trumps
Yeah.
because of the ring and like yeah, I mean that's broadly the music that we cover. So I think we can anyone who strays slightly outside of it will just call them that as well.
Yeah.
That's what you're saying.
So
Okay.
should we go through some of the results anyway? So
Yeah. Okay. Yeah,
we
that sounds
had
fun. Let's do
our
that.
our first edition of Pop Punk Top Trumps was which Menzinger's album, which we pipped After the Party versus Impossible Past.
Yes.
Who do you think came out on top?
Well, can I just clarify before you give the results that several people said to me, "Oh, I agree with Nick. He's right." But because the way it's done, I think Impossible Past was my video shot, and you were After the Party. I like After the Party better. It was just we just had to have two videos, so that doesn't reflect my view. But so I think, having said that, I think After the Party had to have won, surely.
Yeah, it wasn't. Yeah, it wasn't. Did After the Party didn't run away with it. 67% of votes.
Oh, okay. Yeah, yeah, okay.
Okay, and the next one was so kind of legends of the game. So we pipped Eve Six versus Good Charlotte. We had
Yes.
one comment that said Good Charlotte are wank.
Yes, I saw that. I saw that and I recognized the name. Was that one of those guys in one of your brother's mates?
I don't know.
I
I don't
recognize that
know.
name. I could be wrong.
But I think, given the user base on TikTok, Good Charlotte are always going to come out on top there, really.
Yeah, it was a fairly
68,
easy win for Good Charlotte on that basis.
68% of
Yeah.
the votes.
Yeah.
What else have we done? We did Cassidy Pope, who we interviewed at the weekend, so let's hang
Yes.
fire on that one because we
Yep.
can
Sounds good.
talk about it on that episode.
Yes.
And what was the other one we did? Frank Turner songs. I I think it was a bad choice from you here. So Frank Turner
Really?
songs were a reason to not to be an idiot and long live the Queen, which is losing quite badly.
Yeah. Yeah, I saw.
85 to 15%.
Ah,
There you
okay.
go. There's
Well,
about 10, there's about 20 other Frank Turner songs that are better than Long Live the Queen.
I can't. It's hard to top that song for me, so I
Fair
just
enough.
went with it. I'm afraid. Yeah. Well, I think this is fun. Let's keep them coming, and
Yeah, jump on TikTok. Yeah.
we throw some of them on Instagram as well. So look out for them there.
Anything else happening in terms of new releases then? Music wise?
There's been nothing that's really
Seems
excited me.
quiet, doesn't it, at the moment? Like there's not really a huge amount coming out.
I saw Girlfriends put out a song this week. How about you have a listen to that now, and we'll get your reaction to it.
Honestly, I wish I could shut up and kiss me. Shut up and kiss me.
Shut up and kiss me.
Yeah, so that was the new song by Girlfriends, Travis Mills's band. Used to be doing stuff with John Feldman. Don't think that new stuff's with John Feldman. What's your reaction to that, Nick?
I mean, it's very well timed in terms of Valentine's Day that's just landed with us.
I think it was literally released on Valentine's
Oh,
Day.
that's it.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, yeah, it's all right. Like, bit too cliche and corny for my liking, bit too cheesy. He sounds a lot like Pierre from Simple Plan. His voice is quite similar.
Yeah,
Um,
it's definitely that kind of vibe for sure. I mean,
but
that
yeah,
have you listened to any of their stuff prior to that?
yeah, a little bit. They played Slam Dunk, haven't they, before?
I think they played last year. Could be wrong.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I think I remember listening to some of their stuff when they were heading over this way. And but yeah, it's all right. Like nothing groundbreaking, nothing particularly new sounding about them, but good, catchy song. Just a
Yeah, exactly.
bit too corny and cheesy for my liking. But
Fair enough.
I'm
Fair
not really
enough.
a Valentine's Day guy anyway. To be honest, as my wife will testify.
Fair enough, though. But yeah, if
Your thoughts? You're a fan of it? It's more up your street
I,
than mine, probably.
yeah, I think it's all right. It's pretty standard from what I'd expect from them. They've kind of had that sort of sound ever since they kind of came out a few years ago. It's not the best song I've heard from them, but it ticks all the boxes. It's fine. It's very cheesy. Yeah, you're right. But if you kind of accept that, then it's a bit of fun. Not sure how much staying power it will have.
I mean, to their base of fans, probably it's ticking a lot of boxes, right?
Oh, for sure,
Young,
for sure.
young, young teenage romantics. We're
Yeah.
just old cynics these days.
Whenever they put something out, I like them enough to always check it out, and they continue to do very well. Just signed with Versefire, I saw, which is sort of decent label at this point. It's the one that Mark Hoppus and Pete Wentz are kind of co-founded. So yeah, they're doing very well. And if you liked what you heard there, go and check out that song. It's available everywhere.
Cool.
Shall we get into today's episode?
Yeah, let's do it.
Yeah, let's just talk a little bit about this band before we go into it. So today I spoke to Will from Amber Pacific, and Amber Pacific. There's this band I've kind of wanted on the podcast for some time now.
It's been around a long time, right?
Yeah. You and I must have discussed them on and off over the years, but I can't remember what your feelings are. And
Yeah, I mean, there was that record that had I never meant to be this way.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
I mean,
Gone so young.
that was definitely on our playlist back in the day. Well, I say playlist, probably on a mixed CD or something.
whatever. Yeah.
But yeah, and there was another song on that album as well. It was another like one that we always listened to. What, 15 years ago, probably.
I reckon you're probably talking about Poetically Pathetic. That was always the other go-to. I mean, the album has a few good songs on it, but that's
Yes.
I should imagine it's that one.
But yeah, no, not really kind of followed them. Yeah, I don't know what they did after that, to be honest with you. I didn't really follow them close.
They had, well, as you'll hear in this episode, they had their next record was probably like the peak of their commercial success.
Right.
So they had an album in 2007 that was probably when they were most popular. And and since then they've done 2 full lengths. Haven't done one for 10 years, but they do put stuff out every now and then. But I think there's newer stuff in the pipeline. And
cool.
Yeah, I think it makes
Let's
sense
hear about
to let's jump into it now. Thanks for being here. Nice and early as well. I got the little email notification saying that you joined, so I thought I'd hop on as well.
Yeah, appreciate it. No, thank you, man. Thanks for having us. It's going to be great.
Thank you for giving me some of your time.
Yeah, absolutely.
Where are you speaking to me from?
I'm actually talking to you from Memphis, Tennessee.
Okay.
So this is the other job outside of the band world, and this is where I'm based out of. But normally I'm up in Seattle. So
right, of course.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think I saw on your TikTok that you're a pilot these days.
Yeah. I'm a pilot for FedEx. So
really.
So we come over to Stansted all the time in our airplane. So I love it over there, man. Yeah, it's super cool. It's fun when we go over there.
And so how long have you been doing that job for?
I started training for it in 2014, so
Okay.
about 10 years, I guess. Yeah. I didn't get on with FedEx till 2021, so it's only been a few years here, but pretty quick journey to get here. So
Oh wow. I
yeah,
saw I saw from your Facebook like you do work in real estate as well.
I do. Yeah, yeah, man. I got that real estate license back in 2012 when I was finishing up college, and it was just to have something to do when I graduated.
Okay.
And my grandpa always told me like get as many degrees and ratings and everything you can get, certificates, whatever, because education is always yours once you have it. And so I just never let it go, man. I just kept doing it.
Nice. So you've had quite a busy life so far, Will, I feel.
Yeah, lots of different hats, I guess, but it's funny how it all like works together with each other. Like even with the FedEx job and the real estate and the band, I'm able
Yeah.
to commit to all three of those things equally, which is super cool.
I'm sorry, I feel like I jumped straight into your job and stuff there. I didn't even do the polite introductions at the start. So
No, that's all good. It's all good.
let me do that. So I'm Chris. I'm one half of the Wasting Time podcast. Normally two of us that do these, but it's just myself this evening. But yeah, I'm based near Kingston, which is just kind of southwest of London.
Okay.
Um, so obviously you mentioned like with your job that takes you to Stansted a fair bit. Like how so when you come to Stansted, is it kind of just an in and out job, or do you spend a few days here? How's that normally go?
It all depends. I mean, normally, sometimes it can be as short as like just a 24-hour stint, or sometimes we've got layovers there that are 72 hours. And it's one of the top spots for us to go to. A lot of our guys here really like going over to Stansted and hanging out. It's a cool area, cool part of town. So, yeah, it just depends on your schedule, I guess, but it can
Yeah,
vary.
of course, of course.
Yeah. Yeah.
I suppose at the time of recording, speaking of band things, you guys just played I guess it's a local-ish show. If it was Bremerton, you played Bremerton last week.
Yeah, it was our first time playing on that side of the Puget Sound there, the nice batch of water in between Seattle and Bremerton. And
Hmm.
it's where PX is from. It's where we
Of
recorded
course.
our last record, The Turn. So it was kind of cool to get a chance to go over there and play. And man, we were honestly just blown away at the response that we got from the crowd and just the amount of people that showed up. It was a smaller venue, but still it felt pretty full to us, and the
Hmm.
kids were having like a great time. Like band, everybody was just having fun. And anytime you get to headline a show, it's always cool because you get to do things that you don't normally get to do when you're like opening up for a bigger band. So we brought
Sure.
out Mike came out and sang with us on one of the songs that he did on the record, and
Nice.
just really nice of him to show up. And so that was super cool. And we brought out our singer's wife who sang on the record for a slower acoustic song. So we got to do some really cool things, and it was a blast, man. A lot of fun.
Nice, nice. Who did you have open up for you? Was it just local acts or?
Yeah, we had a friend of ours in a band called Less Than Three. They were the first band that played, and then another group called College Radio that's been doing a lot of things around locally and also some touring outside of Washington too. So super nice
Yeah,
guys. Everyone got along really great, and it was super fun.
that's cool. College Radio, I've heard of them, definitely.
They have a bit more presence than Less Than Three does, but I think they've been around a little bit longer, and they've had some opportunities to get outside of Washington, which is always helpful. So
So have you got many other shows coming up next few months?
yeah, man. I don't know what I'm allowed to announce yet. We haven't made any official announcements. We have a batch of shows coming up in Texas in April, and then we might have one down the road in August. It's unconfirmed yet, but we are always looking for opportunities to really play whenever and wherever we can when it makes sense. And we're going to try to do that more this year than the years past. So
Oh, that's cool. That's cool. Yeah, I
yeah,
definitely want
yeah,
to
yeah,
get a little bit more into that as this conversation goes on.
yeah.
But just basic stuff at the top as well. Like you've been kind of mentioning this on the social media a little bit recently, but like you guys are working on new music at the minute. Are you able to say what kind of stage that's at right now?
It's still early on. So starting like November of last year, I
Yeah.
dove back into a lot of old voice notes on the phone and started like racking my brain on just what I've been doing over the last couple of years. And Something happened, man. I don't know what happened, but something happened where like it was literally like one or two songs a day was just like
Really?
naturally just coming out. These songs were taking 10, 15 minutes to write and finish, and then I just track like a rough acoustic demo of it. So over the last couple months, I've accumulated like probably about 20 of those, and we are getting into the phase where like before this last show we just played was the first time that we started running some of these ideas like as a full band to try to kind of start putting them
Yeah.
together. And I'll be going back out to Nashville with our drummer here pretty soon to kind of continue that process. And hopefully the goal is to like get these things recorded and tracked and have a new record out by the summertime. It's really what we're
Oh,
shooting
nice.
for.
So like an actual full length.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Oh, amazing. Because it'll have been 10 years since the last full length, right?
I know it's crazy to think about that. Yeah. Cause it feels like it was just yesterday, but
I know how that is.
these,
Yeah.
these songs are, I think, some of the best ones that I've written, and I'm really proud of them. So I can't wait to like get into a studio and turn them into kind of the Amber Pacific sound that people have come to know. So
Yeah, for sure. And we've been missing it because I feel, correct me if I'm wrong, I think the last original song I remember hearing from you guys was you did a single in 2017 is like 7 years ago already, which is crazy, you know.
I know it's a blur, man. It's a blur.
So correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that was the last original song I heard from you guys. And I know you did a cover like maybe about 3 years ago now as
Yeah,
well.
we
Am I
sprinkle
missing
those in when
anything
they.
else? Has there been anything else recently?
I don't think so. I think that's pretty much it. But some of those songs will make an appearance on this new record too, maybe in different forms, or
Oh, okay.
we might even pull some stuff from the record that we did with Victory, Virtues, with our other singer
With the
Jesse.
other singer. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So we might pull some songs off of that and try to just throw them on as like bonus tracks or something like that, just to see what it sounded like with Matt. Not that one's better than the other, but just
Sure,
just
sure.
try it out. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, of course. No, that would be interesting. Yeah, I did. Like the way we normally do these things is we kind of, we'll kind of, I mean, if it's cool with you, like we'll go through your career a little bit, and there's just like
Yeah.
things I want to pinpoint, ask you questions about that. That record was certainly one of them. But before we dive into that, I just want to get a bit more clarity as to like this how Amber Pacific works these days, because obviously we mentioned at the top of this, your job that takes you all over the world. I know the band's like historically from the kind of Seattle area. Is that where everyone's based at the minute?
Yeah, basically 4 out of the 5 guys are all still based pretty much right where we grew up. And
Yeah.
our drummer Dango is the only one that moved back to Nashville. He actually came to Amber Pacific from Nashville.
Right.
Um,
Okay.
and so he moved back there, and he is still full time. Like he is grinding every day. One of the hardest working dudes that I know, just hitting Broadway and like playing the shows at night till 3 in the morning. And then he's got his one of his full time gigs is playing drums with Scott Stapp from Creed.
Oh,
Uh,
I did. I can't believe I forgot. Obviously, I make notes ahead of these shows, and I
yeah,
did know
yeah,
that, and I'd forgotten that, and that's obviously something that should be written in here. But yeah,
yeah,
that's
man. No,
crazy.
that's pretty crazy. That was wild to hear that he got that, and like we're all super supportive and excited for him,
Yeah.
and he's working hard, man. So he's the only one that's out in Nashville. The rest of us are back home in Seattle.
Got it. Hence, obviously, you mentioned before going out to Nashville to work on some stuff with him, so that makes sense now. What
Yep.
have you watched him perform with Scott Stapp before?
Man, I haven't had a chance to yet. It's like on my list of things to do, but anytime he's like coming through anywhere near Washington, I'm always out working for
Of
FedEx
course.
or
Yeah, yeah.
um just hasn't lined up yet, but I definitely want to go and support our guy there, because I think it's pretty cool what he's doing.
I
That's
think
awesome.
that's cool. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
That's I mean, yeah, that's obviously he's a famous character, for better or worse, but that's cool
Right.
that he has that gig for sure.
And honestly, man, those shows are very full. Most of them are pretty sold out, and
That doesn't
so
surprise me.
it's impressive. He's got a very big following still.
So in terms of the band, like in a sort of day-to-day thing, like so obviously you mentioned you want to do more of the shows this year, but do you guys kind of like get together and practice when you know there's a show coming up, or even if there's not a show on the horizon, where you try and keep practices as regular as you can? But I suppose with your drummer being based out in Nashville, maybe obviously that'll make that difficult.
Yeah, and that's kind of been the tricky part, is figuring out how to get our schedules to line up with him being not so far away, but being away from Washington. So usually the way that it works is we will get together a couple days before a show coming up, and we'll rehearse a couple of times before that show, and usually 3 or 4 practices, and then we'll go hit it. Most of it comes back through like muscle memory, which is
Oh,
nice.
of course, I'm sure. Yeah.
But we all kind of individually rehearse the parts, and we kind of know like what the set list is going to be going into it, so we can all practice individually leading up to the group practice, and that kind of helps like just mold it together when we get together. So
when it's during a more, say you haven't got a show for like 3 months or something. So for you personally, how involved in music are you in your kind of day-to-day life? Like, are you still like writing for ABBA Pacific, like in your own time? Are you like watching what's going on in the current scene? Like, on a typical day, like how involved are you?
yeah, I'd say I always try to make time to either practice Amber Pacific, write for Amber Pacific, or just remind myself why I love the music side of what I do. And that usually involves like maybe I'll just turn on like a Blink-182 record and start playing along with it.
Yeah.
Or I'll just take a day and I'll like blast the shit out of music in my headphones, like super loud. It's amazing how it can change your mood and like the power that has,
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
So yeah, I make music a daily thing for me, whether it's for Amber Pacific or just reminding myself why I love it so much. It's, I'll listen to bands that I used to grow up on still to this day. And I'm lucky enough to keep in touch with a couple of them. And that's been really cool, man. It's just cool to see like the resurgence of this genre again.
Oh, for sure.
It's amazing. The response is amazing. Like the When We Were Young festival thing in Vegas, what they're able to do, like it's just crazy, man. I hope that we get some opportunities to kind of jump in and kind of play with some of our old friends again, because that's really the goal right now. It's just been too hard to miss out on,
I can imagine. Yeah, seeing so much of that kind of coming full circle and people out touring again and stuff. I suppose that might be a good kind of springboard into like just talking about your early years and stuff. So you mentioned like still listening to a lot of the bands you grew up on and stuff. So do you want to just tell me about like some of your early music experiences, and if there were any bands that you played in before Amber Pacific kind of took off? Like, what did you grow up in Seattle?
Yeah, for the most part, I moved up there when I started 7th grade. I was back in 1997. So split my time between California. It was all California before then, and then up to Washington. But yeah, I didn't really pick up a guitar till like 9th or 10th grade. And
Okay.
it was really my brother who actually got me started on it, because he kept playing a bunch of Green Day songs on guitar, and he's 4 years ahead of me. He's older than me.
Okay.
And for the longest time I didn't understand it. I just didn't get it. And I wasn't really exposed to that side of music yet. And something happened where like I figured like I should give this a try. And so he kind of helped me learn a little bit. But then I started just playing on my own, and basically I learned like Blink-182 and Green Day's entire catalog on guitar.
Okay.
Which is probably why like I'm not anything special when it comes to like solos and stuff. Like I'm a rhythm guitar player, and I write songs. That's all I do. But
sure.
At any rate, it was like my junior year in high school when I really started putting a group together. It was started in like a guitar class in high school. And I guess before Amber Pacific, there was my buddy Blake Evans and Tyler Pearson. And the 3 of us is really kind of what started my adventure into music. And eventually we swapped out some people. Dango came in, like, so it was right around my senior year where like things started shifting, and we brought Matt on to be the singer. And that's where it really took off. So I didn't play in a lot of stuff before Amber Pacific. It's always kind of been that. At the time in high school, we were called Follow Through.
Okay.
Uh,
So it was effectively like your high school band, like the early beginnings of Amber. So
absolutely.
I've just had a memory come back. I feel like I don't know because this would have been before. No, 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 no. It would have. I mean, MySpace would have been a thing, obviously, but maybe it was on. Maybe you had like a thing on your when you buy the CD and you put it in a computer and you could watch a video. But uh, regardless of where I saw it from, but I remember seeing a video of like you and your singer. Is it Matt's the singer, right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
Matt.
like
Yep.
you were doing like a guy. You were walking through your high school or something, and I seem to remember you saying, "Oh, on during lunch we play like Jimmy Eat World covers here." And I'm not
Yeah.
imagining this, right? You did this was like a video you filmed.
Wow. I totally believe you. Yeah, I can't remember which video it was, but I mean that is a true statement. Like we used to play during
Yeah,
our lunchtime in the cafeteria,
yeah.
really just playing covers. So Jimmy Eat World, The Middle was one of them, and
Hmm.
obviously some Blank songs and stuff like that. So yeah, man, that's funny that you remember that. I can't figure out where that video went, but yeah, I think that was
Just
a thing.
suddenly came back to me. Then it would have been I think it was around the time of your second full length that would have come out.
Okay.
Yeah. So okay. So obviously, so it kind of formed in high school, and then you did. It was the first thing you released. You had the EP before Possibility and the Promise. There was an EP, wasn't there? So kind of how soon after high school did that EP come about, and like where did the attention sort of when did you start getting the attention?
Yeah, so we made a two-song demo in high school, like our senior year, and we sold it for like $1 to all of our friends. And that's really what started growing our local following, just playing small venues. And Matt and I went off to the University of Washington to start college in 2003.
Yeah.
And it was right around that time where one of my brother's friends in his fraternity really like took an interest in the Amber Pacific and what we were doing. He was a big fan and he wanted to like progress us forward. He's kind of a
Oh, okay.
business dude. And
Yeah.
so he like without us really asking, he like really took us in. His name was Tresco, and we credit a lot of our beginnings to him because he took our band and he shopped it around. He landed us with a producer in Wallingford named Martin Fevier at Jupiter Studios, and Martin has been a huge piece of the puzzle for Amber Pacific's success. He's our producer on The Possibility and the Promise, the EP that we did, Truth and Sincerity, and even on Virtues. We recorded all those with Martin.
Oh,
And
okay. You did a lot with him.
absolutely. And this guy is amazing. He's worked with some really big acts and he's got a great studio out there. And so anyways, we got our music into his hands. He liked it, and that's kind of how we started the idea of getting this EP together. And it was
Hmm.
right around that time where Martin had a friend named Michael Barber who took our music down to Hopeless Records in Van Nuys, California to see what the interest was. And it was the first label that we were really like shocked to, I guess,
Yeah.
after we made this rough EP. And Hopeless jumped on board. They loved it. And we played a couple more like showcases around Seattle just to show them that we're serious about it. And they basically gave us an opportunity to sign a contract with them to put out 2 full-length records, and that was right around winter of 2003. And so the band got together as a group, and we basically said like we either need to pursue the band full time, take a break from school, or we
Hmm.
just need to call it a part time thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. Of course. Of course.
And so we took that like leap of faith. We saw it as like a once in a lifetime opportunity, and it turns out that that was a good decision because it ended up turning into our full time gig for a very long time, and we're still very fortunate to be able to doing it today. So that's kind of how it all happened, man.
That's amazing. Was Tobin at Hopeless then? Might have been. Do you know Eric Tobin at
Yeah,
Hopeless?
Eric Tobin.
Was that before? Was he there then? I feel like because I know him a little bit, and like I feel when he told me he joined Hopeless, it might have been after that. I don't know, but
I think he came into Hopeless a little bit after we had been there.
okay.
But we worked with him quite a bit. Love the guy, and I think he's still with Hopeless Records right now from the
Yeah, he
pictures that
is.
I've seen.
He
Yeah,
is.
yeah,
He
yeah.
is. Yeah, yeah. I had a band I used to manage last year. Like, I had a few meetings with him last summer. Like,
Oh,
he's the
okay.
best guy. Yeah, yeah. He's a very
Yeah,
cool guy.
yeah. Oh, awesome.
Um, no, that's very cool. Okay, so obviously so you went all in. What were some of those tours you got on during that transition period where it was kind of becoming, encompassing your whole life.
Yeah, so I remember we had this big like celebratory, we signed with Hopeless Records show at I think a Tower Records up in the University of Washington.
Mhm.
It was like a album release party, I guess. But that was a big deal for us. We felt like we had really like landed our opportunity. And then the first tour that we went on was not great at all.
Really?
Um, it was disheartening. We went out. I just remember like Palm Springs being one of the first places that we played, and it was at this bar. No offense to the bar or the people, but it just people weren't ready for us, and it was not the right like demographic of people.
Right. Okay.
So we went into this venue, we loaded in, we got set up, and we played, and it just seemed like no one in the room cared. Like not a single person cared about us, and it was like, oh man, if this is what it's going to be like, this is going to be rough, you know? And
Yeah.
sure enough, like the rest of that tour, we called it the dive tour because it was just show after show like that. We're just pulling into these random places in these random cities where nobody seemed to care or even know about us. And it presented this ginormous like mountain in front of us that we had to climb because like this is going to be
Yeah.
a lot of work if we want to get this thing off the ground. So um, we did that tour. We came back home, but then we Hopeless basically helped us land a spot on the Kevin Says stage for Warp Tour, and
Okay.
that
What
is
what year
Warp.
was that?
I think that was 2004 was our first one. I think we only did a couple dates.
Yeah.
And then it picked up in '05, '06, and '07. But that tour is really where we made like the fans that we have today. We worked our butts off on that tour. We stayed out at our tent literally all day long. And back then we had CD players, right? So
Of course. Yeah, yeah.
so we bought 4 CD players and we put splitters on each one. So we had 8 people listening to our music at any given time all day long. And
Nice.
we were just holding our boxes of CDs, just asking people to listen. And we moved so many CDs on Warped Tour just doing it ourselves. And that was like our big chance to really make an impact. And I think that's what helped some of the success we had with our first full length is just having that like foundation from the Warped Tour that we did in '04.
So going into that first full length, did you feel like, okay, this is now going to be something, or was it still a thing of like, let's record this full length and see how it lands, or was the momentum growing enough that you knew that was going to kind of take you to the next level?
I don't think that we went into it thinking that it was going to be anything huge. I think that from what I can remember, like hearing your own music on an album or on a record, just hearing your own song recorded was always such a cool thing to me. And
Yeah.
um, so getting a chance to go into a real studio with a real producer and having a real budget behind us to actually do the things that we wanted to do with the music
Yeah.
was that was the focus. It wasn't, I don't think we even thought really beyond what was going to happen after we got out of the studio. It was really just songs that we felt strongly about, that we really liked, that we were excited to record. And
Hmm.
honestly, we didn't think about what was going to happen after that. We didn't go into it thinking like, oh, Gone So Young is going to be the single, or, you know, so those
Yeah. Yeah. Of
conversations came later with Hopeless, obviously. But
course.
the focus at the time was just like get this music done as best we possibly could. And we got to do some cool things with that first record, man. It was awesome.
Yeah, that's when I first discovered you. I remember very distinctly. I was in San Francisco at the time, like just kind of traveling around or whatever, and I was staying in this hostel. My friend emailed me, and he was just like, "You need to listen to this band, Amber Pacific. They've just released this new full length." And I went down to Tower Records in Fisherman's Wharf that day, found it, and then just went back to like the common area of the hostel and put it on, and just like instantly loved it. I was just like, "Yes, this is a sound I can get on board with."
That's awesome.
And when I listen to that record now, it takes me back to being in that hostel in 2005 in San Francisco. And
Yeah,
yeah,
absolutely. Same thing for me. And when I listen to certain records, it definitely puts you back in a place when you first heard it.
absolutely.
And
Yeah, music will
that's
do that.
amazing, man. Thanks for picking that up.
Of course. What's looking back on it, what's your favorite song on that one?
Ooh, I think probably Gone So Young. not because it's our most popular song, but it's the one that meant the most to all of us. That song was written about our high school buddy going into our
Yeah.
senior year in high school. He was in a bad car accident, and we lost him right before our senior
Yeah.
year. And
Yeah.
so that song was not just a song for us, but I kind of wrote it for like all of our friends at the time going through this really hard time. And
Yeah.
again, like I didn't write it thinking like, wow, this is gonna like reach a bunch of people. Like I just wanted, to get the feelings out of what I thought,
Of course.
we were
Of
all kind of
course.
going through.
Yeah.
And so that
Such
one's
a huge thing. Yeah. Yeah.
that was just the most special to me. And his parents are the sweetest people, and so just seeing the impact that it had on them too, just to like, give them something to kind of listen to. And so I think that one, just because of the meaning behind it.
Yeah. No,
Yeah.
that makes absolute sense. I'm sure that must have
Yeah.
meant a hell of a lot to them as well.
Yeah, I think so.
No, that's very cool. That's very cool. So yeah, so obviously that record landed well, and then what the next 2 years, I guess, were like kind of must have been like life changing to an extent with what came next.
Yeah.
I'd say.
Shoot, man. I think they just hit the road really and just stayed out as long as we could. Our singer's grandma gave us her 33-foot motorhome, and
Really?
we took it down to California for and our drummer's brother-in-law at the time had like a custom bunk company, and we ripped out the queen bed in the back and put some bunks in the back, and that was like our touring vehicle for the better part of our early years. And we just jumped on as much as we could, played as much as we could, and we were
So were
home
you?
very, very little.
Yeah, sorry, that was going to be my question. So you're pretty much constantly on the road for those
From
what?
from what I can remember, that's what it felt like. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, were you mostly doing tours where you were opening up for bigger bands, or did you do some headlining tours around that time? Can you remember?
I think, throughout the course of our career, actually, the majority of what we've done has pretty much been headlining stuff.
Okay.
We haven't had a chance to really jump on a lot of big tours. We've had a couple in the past, and there's a handful of bands that have thrown us a bone more than one occasion. I can think of like MXPX is always helping us out. Hawthorne Heights, one of the biggest helpers, not just by bringing us out on tour, but also by like mentoring us from like a
Really?
business perspective of the band, and kind of helping us figure out like just how to grow our brand and try to continue that momentum and making fans and stuff. So JT from Hawthorne Heights is a really, really good friend of ours, and really helped us along the way. And obviously, like now we're playing with the red jumpsuit apparatus all the time.
Yeah.
We share the same booking agent with them, and
Okay.
so it's been cool to kind of reconnect with those guys, because that was one of the biggest tours that we did too, was with them. So
Yeah.
but aside from those, I think there was a Sum 41 tour that we went on, which was probably one of the highlights for myself, just because I was a big fan of the band at the time.
Mhm.
But most of the other
That must
ones
have been
were,
cool.
yeah, most of the other ones were headliners, and we were fine with that. It was just, like I said, just play as much as we could, and that's kind of what the opportunities that we had at the time. So
And then obviously the next record was, I feel like it was pretty big in the scene at the time. Was that kind of, do you think the 2007 record, that was kind of like the peak of Amber Pacific, like in terms of, it being your full-time job and how big the band was? Like, I just felt like it was just all over things like Alternative Press and Absolute Punk at the time, like,
yeah, so that one was different, because that one, going into it, it felt like there was an expectation, and
yeah,
it felt like we had to do something with that record. Like we had to not do anything different musically, because I was never a big fan of changing directions of what we were doing, a huge amount.
yeah,
But yeah, that record, it felt like there's a little more pressure on us to produce something that people were gonna like. And as a writer, like that was hard. That was a hard record to do, because I felt that pressure, and you also have the pressure of time, of having to get it done within a certain amount of time, so it can line up with what the label wanted to do. And
yeah.
but that being said, like I'm really proud of the songs that we put on that record, and the success that record saw was incredible. And Hopeless really did a great job with both of those records, and just growing us and kind of getting us the exposure and the right opportunities to help Amber Pacific kind of continue to trend upwards, which was really cool.
The next record was with a different singer. Was Was that a strange period? Like the years in between those records? Obviously, Matt went,
Yeah.
didn't want to be in a full-time touring band, which, I guess is grueling. So it's not for everyone. And he had been doing that for a number of years. Like, was that kind of at the time, was it amicable, him leaving the band, or was that kind of, or was there some tension there?
It was like a series of events that were happening for us that were it. I mean, it put us all in a kind of like a pretty not optimistic state about our band at the time.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah.
We had an opportunity to tour with the Red Jumpsuit Apparatus, and towards the end of that tour, they had to cut the tour short. So we were on the East Coast, and we had to come back home, which was hard. And then we landed a tour with Sum 41, and
Mhm.
the turnout for that tour, for some reason or another, it was kind of secondary markets, and it just wasn't what we thought the tour was going to be. And then we went on
Really?
tour with Hawthorne Heights, and we played in Detroit on night one, drove to Washington, D.C. on overnight there. And when we woke up, our tour manager at the time, who now plays bass with us, his name is Brad, um, he discovered Hawthorne Heights' guitar player, Casey, had passed away in his bunk bed. And we were sharing a bus with Hawthorne at the time. So
Wow.
we canceled that tour again on the East Coast, having to come all the way back. And it was just punch after punch after punch.
Yeah. Yeah.
And there was just really no positive sign of light in the future at the time. It just felt really dark. And I think it was too much for Matt at the time. And he realized, especially with Casey passing away, I think he realized like our time is limited, and he wanted to kind
Mhm.
of get moving on some other things. So
Yeah.
amicable, absolutely. There was no hard feelings. We all understood. But from the band's perspective, we weren't ready to just let it go and give up,
Yeah.
which
Yeah.
is why we decided to continue on.
Yeah. But it's a difficult position, isn't it? Because a singer leaving a band is always, let's be real, that's the hardest one to replace, because any of the rest of the four of you, you're more replaceable, really, like,
Yeah. Oh yeah. We
um,
joke about that all the time, and you're
yeah,
absolutely right, man. But once you change the voice, you're going to lose some people. And we knew that going into it. But again, just like when we started, like it was never about trying to become, Bon Jovi. It was just like
yeah,
we just wanted to get our music out there, and we wanted to put stuff out that we were proud of. And so it wasn't a huge deal to us, bringing in a new guy and having to worry about like, oh, are people going to like him or not?
yeah,
We wanted to bring in a guy that was a good dude. And we thought that Jesse's voice was going to give us an opportunity to do some things that we hadn't done in the past with Matt. And,
hmm
um, though that record didn't do as well, there's still a lot of songs on there. Not all of them, but there's a lot of them that I think are still really cool and really, really stuff that I'm proud of.
yeah. It'd been a while since I'd listened to that record, but obviously in the run up to this, so I was revisiting all your stuff, and you're right. I feel some of it doesn't hold up as well as some
Hmm.
of your other stuff. Um, but yeah, like it does have some good tunes, like Good Life. That I always thought that was a really good song.
Yeah, thank you, man. That was one of my favorites on there. It was one of the first ones that I wrote for that record, and like I said, they're not all great. There's some that I always made it a goal of mine to not have any filler songs on albums.
Hmm.
Like I wanted people to be able to listen from start to finish without fast forwarding. That was kind of like one of the goals as a writer. And that record, I think there's a couple that even I will skip through just because it's like, it's
Yeah,
not necessarily something that I'm like super excited about, but that happens.
of course, of course.
Yeah,
It's just
yeah,
just the way it goes. They can't always be, wall to wall bangers, can they? Um,
exactly.
you mentioned the record wasn't necessarily received as well as you guys might have wanted it to have been. Was that quite apparent as soon as it was out, or was that kind of did that take some time to kind of that message to come through?
I think we needed to hit the road a little bit to see that and feel that a little bit. And I think
Yeah.
that I wouldn't say the turnouts were bad for our shows, but it's definitely there's a different level of like energy and excitement about the band, that just it was like something was just kind of missing as we were playing. And so you could kind of get that feeling that like this one's not going to do what the other ones have done. And
Yeah.
we still wanted to give it a full effort but at the same time, it was really, really hard dealing with the change. And I think the change was actually just too much for Amber Pacific fans to latch onto. And I wouldn't say that like we knew that it was going to end, because we never said that we were done as a band.
Yeah.
But I think we all knew that it just wasn't going to work out long term. And
Okay.
that's kind of when we decided to kind of take a break a little bit, in a sense. And that's like when I went back to school, got my degree, got my real
Yeah.
estate license. That's
Yeah.
kind of people dispersed for a little bit.
Okay.
And then over the years, we kept in touch with Matt. Matt's more than just a band member. You know, he's been a high school friend of all of
Yeah.
ours. And so we're always just chatting all the time. And so him coming back was always a possibility. He was never closed off to that. You know, he just,
Yeah.
like I said, the series of events that happened that led him to leave, it was just too much, and he just needed to take a step away. And you can't blame a guy for that.
No, of course. And then, so when you started talking to him about coming back, were you just all kind of on the same page of like, you know, this band's never split up. Let's continue to do it. Maybe we'll do it on a more kind of part-time basis where we'll do X number of shows a year. We'll do a record when we can. And were you all kind of on that same page at that point?
I think so. Yeah, I think it was like a trial and error type of thing. Like let's do a show with Matt back in the band and see how it goes. And the response was incredible. And then it was like, yeah, I think we should probably put some songs together and maybe get back in the
Yeah.
studio. So that's kind of how that last record, The Turn, happened. Was like, we want to do another one and have Matt back singing, and give our fans kind of what they maybe missed out on with Virtues.
Yeah.
Give them a chance to come back to us through a record that kind of sounded like Amber Pacific again. And so that worked out really well. And like I said, Mike was super helpful. He basically lent us his studio in Bremerton, and he played bass on the record.
What's it called? Monkey
Monkey Trench Studios.
Monkey Trench Studios, that's it. Yeah. Nice.
Yeah. So he was super helpful and instrumental in making that thing come together. And that was a crowdfunded album, so no label, no anything. And that was just humbling. There's always moments where we're just humbled along the way, and like that was one of them where it's just like, wow, you know, even I don't remember the exact time when Virtues came out, but it had been a while since our last record, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
So to get that amount of support from our fans to want another record was pretty cool.
Yeah, that's really humbling. So now that we've discussed every full length that you've done, what's your favorite of them, looking back?
Favorite record?
Yeah. Like
It's
so someone's never heard Amber Pacific and you can only show them one of them. Which one would you pick?
Probably our second one, Truth and Sincerity.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. I think from start to finish, that one's probably my favorite. It has the most songs that I think you can just listen through, and it's really good song after good song after good song. And
yeah,
dude, we added a lot more. We had a bigger budget for that record, so we were able to add a lot more
for sure
production things that we wanted to do. So I think that one's like the one that stands out to me, and I bet you most of the guys would probably agree with that.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's fair. I think that's fair, particularly like, you know, as I said, been listening to a lot of your stuff in the run up to this, and like, you know, I was being familiar with the records over the years, as I said, because I've been with you guys a long time, but like listening to it all in a bulk, I think that one kind of stands out as probably the strongest overall. So it makes total sense that you would say that for sure. Yeah,
that one was special, definitely.
By the way, I saw your little post just before we jumped on this, where you gave us a shout out, which was much appreciated, by the way. But you said this is the first international podcast you guys have done.
It is.
Well, what an honor for us, hey?
It is. No, man, I've been following the videos you guys are putting out, and it's cool,
thanks,
man. You guys have had a chance to really interview a lot of different people and bands and artists, and it's awesome what you guys are doing. It's really cool. So I was excited to get a chance to do it.
Thank you. Yeah, we've had a lot of cool people come on over the years. Like we've been doing this like almost 9 years now. It's just kind of a little thing that we started just doing the London scene to start with, and it's kind of grown, and you know, we're hoping it's gonna grow a little bit more. We've got a lot of plans this year, but no, I appreciate that. Thank you. But what about well, did you do much international touring?
So that is like the one thing that Amber Pacific outside of like Canada, which it's
Of
connected
course.
to the United States. So I don't know if you
Yeah.
can consider that, but
Mhm.
no, that's the one thing that we didn't get a chance to do. It was right around 2014, I think, when we were actually in talks to come over to the UK to do a run. It was like a 2 week
Really?
thing.
Oh
Yeah.
man.
And we just couldn't get it lined up, couldn't get it to work. And it kind of just, I wouldn't say it fell apart, but it just kind of like dissipated into nothing. And um, I need to reach back out to that guy because it's the one thing that like I really wanted us to have an opportunity to do that we never got to do. And
Yeah.
I think that we have fans outside of the United States that would like to see us, and it would just be a super special thing. So we are absolutely hoping to get a chance to do that someday. I don't know when it's going to happen, but that would just be incredible, man.
If you guys could line it up somehow, that would be amazing. Yeah, because it's funny. I was just obviously that was something I wanted to talk about, and I was just like, have they been over? I'm sure they haven't been over here because I've consistently been a fan of yours, and I'm sure I wouldn't have missed that. Do you know what I mean? So yeah, I felt
Yeah,
like
yeah,
you are one of that pocket of bands I love that have never been over here. Yeah, I feel like there's you guys over it. Quiet Drive. No, Quiet Drive have been over here. I just missed them. But over it and you
yeah.
guys are like two kind of emissions that haven't toured Europe, and it's a
That's
crime,
right. That's
really.
right.
You know?
Oh man, I know I'm dying. I especially with this job I'm in now, I've gotten a chance to go over to all those
Sure.
parts in Europe,
Yeah, yeah,
and it just makes me want it so much more. It's like we have to get the band out here. Just have
yeah,
to.
yeah, yeah.
So we're working on it, man. We're hoping we're trying to partner up with another band maybe or something, just waiting for that opportunity to come across the table where we can just be like, yes, we're going.
Yeah, 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 yeah. And as you say, even if it's a week or a 2 week run, it'll be worth it, definitely.
Oh, yeah, 100%.
Is there any like kind of current bands that have been on your radar recently that have impressed you?
Um, I'm kind of stuck in my old ways. I've been listening to just the stuff that I like I said that kind of like grew up into and got me into the scene. I don't know. You know what? Honestly, kind of funny. Like a band that I've been listening to a lot lately is Bad Omens.
Really,
um,
really, yeah. The
which is like,
managed by the Good Charlotte guys.
yeah, and I don't know what it is about their music, but I freaking love it. It's so cool. Um, and so I've been really into them. They're like one of my most listened to bands of last year. And I know it's an entirely different genre from Amber Pacific, but
It's a little heavier, but yeah, yeah,
it's good stuff, man. It gets you
yeah,
going. And
yeah.
so that kind of stuff, like A Day to Remember, like those kinds of bands have actually been the ones that I'm gravitating towards these days. And but I'll still throw on all the old stuff every once in a while too.
Okay, who are some heavy rotations in the older stuff, the stuff that you grew up on that you're constantly listening to? Who are the big ones for you?
So I'll I'll put playlists together for All Time Low. I mean, that's a band that
They're
we
friends of yours,
helped.
right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So we played with those guys when they were in high school, and I remember the first time I saw them. I mean, literally high school kids, and we were all young at the time, but it was just like, wow, this band is special. There's something different
Yeah,
about them.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
And so to see that success that they've had has just been incredible. Alex has been great to us. I keep in touch with him, and um, anytime they come through Seattle, they always mention Amber Pacific, which is really, really nice and
That's
appreciated.
awesome.
So
That's awesome.
yeah,
And
I
he's
but the music they put out's just like it's incredible, man. Like you were saying, like it's hard to find a band that can put out just song after song after song where it's just so good, and that's one of those. So
yeah.
they're a band that I keep on heavy rotation. Boys Like Girls is another one that keep on heavy rotation, and
Okay.
just
Yeah,
some
they've been
really,
putting out
really,
recent stuff as well.
yeah, it's good songwriting, man. And so that's kind of what I listen to. And but in addition to that, it's like Rise Against was one of the bands that I listened to a lot as a kid, and so
Nice.
I'll throw in like the fast stuff every now and then, and yeah, it's good. There's so much good stuff out there.
One could argue that Amber Pacific, you've had anyone listening to this will understand you've had a very decent career in the music industry. The kind of thing that lots of kids into our kind of music would dream to have. But on the other hand, you could argue, like you mentioned, All Time Low, who are huge. So
Yeah.
you could argue that Amber Pacific, maybe should have been bigger than the level you got to.
Yeah.
But with that statement out, are there any other bands that you came up touring with, or just bands that you're a fan of that kind of fit that description as well? Anyone that you're just like, why was that band not bigger?
That's a great question. There was a band called Just Surrender that we brought
Yeah,
out on tour quite a bit, and I always felt like they had such a cool presence about them. Their songs were great, and
yeah,
it was a band that kind of in our boat where it was like, man, why aren't they getting more opportunities, or why aren't they getting bigger than they should be? And we love those dudes. So that was a band that I thought like, dang, that band should have made it.
yeah.
But yeah, obviously, All Time Low, you kind of knew like this was going to be something special. We toured with Paramore on one of Paramore's
Wow,
earlier touring days when Haley was like 16 and
wow,
her dad was driving the band around, and
wow.
so that was crazy because we knew they had this buzz about them even then. And
Yeah,
I mean, I think their drummer exactly at the time he's probably like, I don't know, 14 or 15 years old. It was crazy,
wow.
man.
Yeah, yeah,
Just kids, But
yeah.
again, there was like another banner. It's like, you kind of just knew that like something was kind of special about them. But yeah, I don't know. I'd have to go back and look at some of those bands we played with to really think about that one. That was a really good question. Just Surrender is just a band that comes to mind that I always really loved and thought that they deserved so much more. And they just played a show in Buffalo, I think, and knocked it out of the park. So
Oh,
who knows?
nice,
Maybe we'll see
nice.
more of them too.
We could probably wrap this up in a second. Like I've taken quite a lot of your time already, which I really appreciate.
Oh, it's all
Because
good.
this has been one that I've been wanting to do for a while, so it's very much appreciated. But yeah, we normally finish these with just some quick fire questions. So if
Okay.
that's cool with you, I'll fire some of those
All right.
at you.
Let's do
Um,
it.
I haven't actually written any down. I'm just going to do this off the top of my head, and from
Okay.
because we do these all the time. So forgive me if I'm not as slick with it as I should be. But
All right.
let's keep it real broad to start with. Favorite movie?
Favorite movie? Let's go. Ooh, for now, I've really been on Fury with Brad Pitt. I like those World War II movies. They're cool.
TV show?
Uh, okay, so I'm an older dude now, so wife and I just watched This Is Us all the way through. Good show.
Oh yeah, yeah. Me, me,
Good
me, and
show.
my wife. We did. It started that in the pandemic and kind of went through it. Yeah, yeah,
Yep.
yeah.
Yep.
I have
Good
a
one.
soft spot for it. Yeah, I
Exactly.
miss Thursday nights not having a new episode of that still, even though it's been 2 years. So.
I know, right? Yeah, that
Yeah.
was pretty special. It's a good show.
Favorite food?
It's got to be like Mexican or Italian, either or. I'll take either or.
Nice.
Usually, I think the majority is Mexican. Usually takes the cake for me.
Yeah, good answer. Good answer. I would only put Indian ahead of it personally, but Mexican's definitely up there for me as well.
It's funny, man. I've been to Delhi and all these places, and there's a little shop where I live back home in Washington. The absolute best Indian I've had, even
Really?
being all over the world and trying Indian
Wow.
all over the place. Like that place in where I live is just great.
Oh, amazing.
It's called Karma Indian Cuisine, and it's fantastic.
Karma Indian cuisine. A
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
deserved shout out. Favorite city to play live?
Oh, dang. Okay, so I'm gonna think like back to our like full-time touring days. I would say anywhere in the Midwest was places that really treated us well, like Chicago, Milwaukee, Denver, Salt Lake City. The middle part of the country was always really, really good to Amber Pacific for some reason, and
Okay.
so we would always go back there and play as much as we could. Every show that we did there was awesome, always good.
Nice.
Yep.
Artists that impressed you the most that you were either supporting or they were opening for you.
Let's go with you don't throw one out there. Matchbook Romance was
Oh, okay. That's a throwback.
that was the Take Action tour, I think is what
Hmm.
that one was. And just the level of like musicianship that those guys had. They sounded perfect like every single night, and super nice guys. So that was a band that I was like, yeah, they got it. It was good. I liked watching them.
Okay, I'm going to give you 4 previous guests of this show. You're only allowed to keep the music of one of them. And I think this is the kind, because I have asked this question before, and I say you have to get rid of one of them, which I think is the more awkward question to ask. But I'm not gonna. I won't do
Ooh,
it that
okay.
way.
All right.
So, Get Up Kids, Sum
Okay.
41, Newfound Glory, and Mest.
Okay. So I just saw the Get Up Kids play on the tour of the All American Rejects recently. That was kind of cool. I don't think I've ever seen them play before, but not my number one out of all of those. I think the one that I have to keep probably Sum 41.
Okay. Yep.
I'm a big Sum 41 fan, and I'm sad that they keep saying they're going to hang it up. I don't know if I'm buying it yet, but it's disappointing.
There's gonna be a reunion, surely. Like even if they go away for 4 years or whatever.
It's crazy. I've seen a couple of shows from them recently, and dude, they're just one of those bands. Like, I think they're like almost bigger now than they've ever been, and I don't understand why they're going to put out a new record and then not support it. I just don't understand it. I wish that they could keep going because Derek's a great writer.
Yeah, a friend of mine who's working on the record says it's just. Well, I mean, he's not such a pop punk guy, but he said to me, he's like, you are going to love that. Well, at least the pop punk half of that record. So I'm very much looking forward to hearing that.
Same. I can't wait for it to come out.
Final question. Favorite, give me, if you can't just like off the bat, give me this, that's fair enough because I'm putting you on the spot. But like, who are contenders for your top 3 bands of all time?
Top 3 of all time. So I have to put Blink up there just because the influence that they had on me as a kid. They were my first like pop punk show that I went to. So that was a lasting impression. And so they'll be up there. Simple Plan is a band that I haven't mentioned yet. And I've been talking a lot with Chuck lately, and
nice.
That band is a band that I used to play daily over the summer in my little like Mazda Miata with the top down. That record, man, that first record they put out was so good, and everything they've done since then has just been so good. And he's been super gracious to give us his time to kind of help us, and that's a band that we haven't played with that we really, really want to. And hopefully
they're still kind of like, maybe not on the Sum 41 level, but they're still, the audiences haven't really gone down. I feel like
they went on. Yeah, they went on tour of The Offspring, and then they just finished up a run in the UK. Or actually, they might still be on it right now, or in Europe, I should say. And the shows are great, man. So that's a top 3 band for sure. And then probably have to go back to Sum 41 again. Blink, Simple Plan, and Sum 41 right now would be my top 3.
Decent. I like that.
Yeah.
My top 3. I mean, they'd be maybe not. I do like Simple Plan. I don't know. They'd be a contender for top 3 for me, but it'd be similar kind of band. So like, I like, I feel like you and I have similar taste. I feel,
Yeah, because I'm thinking about it now. I'm like, oh man, I left out like All Time Low, Boys Like Girl. All American Rejects are another big one that had a huge influence on my writing. So I don't know, top 6, I guess. We could go on forever with that one.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
As much as I'd like to, we best not.
Exactly.
I do need to let you get on with your Friday, but we'll like really appreciate you giving us some of your time. This has been really cool for me, and I can't wait to see what's next for Amber Pacific over the coming months and hear some new stuff.
Yeah, man, I'm excited to get it out there. Like I said, I'm thinking that these are some of the better songs that I've done, so hopefully other people will agree with that. But it's the same process. We're going to go in there just trying to like make the best music we can, and if people like it, that's awesome. It's just icing on the cake.